All right. Home Squad Sports, their Home Squad Hoops. First episode, just finished up the first night of NBA. I'm very excited. It was a couple great games if you're able to catch them. Able to see defending champs get their rings. Boston Celtics got their rings, looking to repeat, as well as some history made there with everyone probably noticed there with LeBron making the debut with his son, Bronny James. So pretty crazy, stuff to start off the season. Very happy and just looks like it's going to be a great season. And man, I couldn't be more excited. So, first off, let's go ahead and start. We got a 109 to 132 finish there with the Celtics. Man, I mean, everyone knew the Knicks had the trade, with Karl Anthony Towns. Now they got Karl Anthony Towns, got rid of Randall. It was a big shakeup. No one expected it. So, I think a lot of people were curious, I was too, to see how they were going to look to start out. So, I don't think it was too surprising on them losing. I mean, when you get Celtics, a team like that that's going to get their rings any night. Sorry, any night there's a ring ceremony. I mean, they just got an edge. It's just an emotional edge, a mental edge. They got their hardware, they got their rings. Now, obviously, they got new people on the team that weren't on the team last year. They want their rings, so it's motivation for everybody. So them losing was pretty slim shot, honestly. So they were able to get the dub even without Porzingis. It wouldn't be an NBA season, I guess, starting out with Porzingis, without him being in a suit. So that's not very surprising there. So yeah, I mean, we'll see if he comes back. If they can get him back, man, I mean, they're gonna be a problem because Jason Tatum looks like he's coming for that MVP. Looks like he's not satisfied with just the ring. So, I mean, we'll go ahead and get to some stats here. Jason Tatum, with that being said, 14 from 18 from the field, 37 points, 10 assists, 4 boards, 8 from 11 from three. I mean, in 30 minutes. So what are you gonna do? Jason Tatum, man, he's a baller. I started watching that starting five recently, and man, it's really cool just to see him. Really, just he's a dog. He's got a lot of bad rap. Some of it deservingly, with some of the cheesy and corny stuff he's done. Since they won the championship. So, but hey, when you win the championship, you can talk your shit. You can say whatever you want. So. He's on top of the mountain right now. The Celtics are. You got to knock him down. So he was able to have a big first game. Al Horford was able to pitch in with 11 points, 5 assists, 3 boards. Derek White, 24 points in 27 minutes, 8 for 13 from the field. Derek White doing Derek White things. We was wanting to see. I think everyone was very curious to see Jaylen Brown and how that dynamic was working. Him being left off the USA team, and is that locker room in shambles now, or what's going on here? I think they were kind of maybe to put that to bed. And even if they do have a bad locker room, guess what? They're still able to put business on the court, and they're still the champions and be able to play championship basketball. So Jaylen Brown there, 23 points, 7 for 18 from the field, 7 rees. So yeah, man, and obviously threw an assist there as well. So shout out to him. I mean, big 3 games there. Didn't even talk about Drew Holiday. He added 18 points, 7 from 9 from the field. So as you can see, I mean, they shot a really good percentage. Just their core did, and whenever their core, does that, they're going to win, man. Then they have Sam Hauser coming off the bench with 10 points. I think their bench is a little shaky. I think their bench is something to be in question. Their depth. I think with Porzingis being out, we're going to be able to see that. Obviously, it's the first game of the year. It's 82 games. There's going to be moves. Every team's going to make moves. I think the Celtics are going to be one of them. I know they were kind of in limbo, seeing if they were going to have Lonnie Walker make the team. Looks like he's going to start the season in the G League. So a bunch of these people are going to be in the G League, up and down. Bronny James being one of them, to kind of get that development. So I think that's just better for him and better for a lot of these players as, we grow into a more competitive league and a league that's going to be expanding soon. So we have a lot of players out there that should be on teams that aren't, just because there's simply not enough spots, and we need more teams, honestly. So very excited in the future of the league and the future of the NBA. But we got to live in the present and tonight. It lived up to expectations. A great first night. I'm glad it just wasn't a 1-game slate, and I'm really glad it wasn't 4 games. I'm glad we had 2 games. Boston and LA, storied franchises, as well as the Knicks and the Timberwolves are on the up and coming. Had a good year last year, trying to have a good year again. I do believe in them, even though they did switch some pieces around. But we're going to still dive into some stats here of this Knicks game. Don't want to turn away from that yet. Big takeaway from the Knicks game, man, is I think Bridges is going to take a while. It's going to take a while for Bridges to kind of get in there and really get acclimated with the offense. They just got him, but he's a slow starter anyway. Honestly, I think he's a slow starter. And I think that it's going to take him some time to get acclimated. I think they're going to miss DiVincenzo. I really do think that he was a really good piece, man. And he could shoot, and I think they got Bridges as well, and he's going to be able to help. But I just think it's going to take some time. And it's not night and day. It's not plug and play as quick as people may think. So it's going to take some time. Jalen Brunson was able to add 22 points, 9 for 14 from the field. A lot of these players are actually shooting pretty good from the field is what I'm surprising to see. They were out there shooting. One player I am kind of nervous about on the Knicks, I'm not hating on him or anything. I just don't know how he fits with this team, is Jason Hart. I don't know how he's really going to fit with this team, man, because I think there's a guy behind him that's better, and it's Miles McBride. I think Miles McBride might be in the running for sixth man of the year. I tweeted that out during the game. And I'm not just saying that because he had a good game. Like, he had a really good season last year, too. And looks like he's able to follow it up, been in the gym working. I mean, dialed in 26 minutes off the bench, which is rare, within its own if you're not in foul trouble or anything. So he looks like they're going to be giving him heavy minutes off the bench. And you never know. They might sprinkle him in the starting lineup as well. So very excited to see what happens there with the Knicks. I think Campaign's a guy on their team as well that I don't think is going to make it through the end of the season with them. I just don't think he fits with that team as of yet, or as a whole. So, but Miles McBride able to get 22 points, 4 for 5 from 3 on 80% shooting from the field, 8 for 10 for field goals. So, like I said, Miles McBride is a really good player to watch out for. Very, very excited to see what's in store for him. I think the Knicks have one there with a very good bench piece. But yeah, the Celtics were able to keep him at bay, man. I mean, they got their rings tonight. They're able to keep balling. Everybody else was, obviously looking at the Laker game, which Lakers were able to get a really good lead up there. They blew the lead. They blew lead all last season, right? They would get a 20-point lead or 18-point lead and blow it. The Celtics were up 20 in the first. The Lakers were up 19 or 20 in the second, and then Timberwolves kind of came back. Timberwolves didn't look that great tonight, and they still kept it a 7-point game. So Anthony Edwards there, on his team, man. He's in them. Just tell him to wake up, screaming, tell him, come on, like, let's get it. We're here. Season's here. It's the first game. We got 82 of them, but we only got one first game, So intensity level was very high for Anthony Edwards. He's trying to get that ring. I've been tuning into that Starting Five documentary there on Netflix, and man, that dude's intense. He brings it every day, and I really love Anthony Edwards. He's good for the game. So we'll go ahead and move on from that game. Do want to go over just some history being made here. I mean, everyone's been waiting for it. It's Bronny James playing with his dad, LeBron James playing with his son, however you put it. This is history being made, man. And I'm glad I was able to see this. Like, we're never going to see this again, ever in our lives. We're never going to see a father and son play together ever again. So you really just have to really, embrace it, and you have to congratulate it, man. I mean, is Bronny James going to be in the G League? Yeah, Bronny James is going to be in the G League. Look at this team. Like, it's loaded, right? He's young. They're saying he's not ready for the league, but like, he is. Like, he's ready for the league. He's ready to get into the league, like incubator, and get into that system, right? Like, he's ready to be developed like a pro. I think he's not ready to be in the pros right now. There's a lot of players that shouldn't be in the pros right now, if you really want me to keep it a buck. So very excited to see him, play with his dad. And I mean, he's going to, like I said, he's going to be up and down in the G League. If you're a G League player, if you play any G League, you only have really 41 days on the real roster. So if those 41 days hit, they have to make a decision to kind of sign you or keep you in the G League for the rest of the year. So something there to kind of keep in your mind going forward there, that he does, have a clock and have many games. If he shows out and if they have some injuries, yeah, he'll be on the real roster. I mean, helping out, rebounding, passing, stuff that the Lakers need, honestly, they haven't had. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do a preview of all the teams that played tonight, of their full roster, and then we're going to do just an Eastern Conference tonight preview. I know it's pretty late, and then tomorrow we're going to do a preview of the games, and then do a Western Conference preview. The Western Conference is obviously more competitive. So the Eastern Conference shouldn't take us too long today, but definitely wanted to touch on it and touch on the games tonight. So with that being said, we can look at the Lakers roster here. As we know, any team that LeBron James is on, it's going to probably change a little bit. Tonight was a good night to start out with the Lakers. They blew the lead, but I did see a lot of positive things. Rui Hachimura, Gonzaga alum there. I'm a Gonzaga fan. Had a great game. He's been kind of in question, him and D'Angelo Russell, if they're going to fit long term or if they're going to be trade assets. So it looks like as of right now, I mean, they're looking pretty good, man. The only one I would say is unfortunately D'Angelo Russell. He's a hometown prospect here from Louisville, Kentucky, my hometown. But he's always in trade talks. Unfortunately, it must be really like stressful on him, man. Just always being like everywhere you turn around. It doesn't matter if the trade deadline is about to pass, just passed. He's always in talks about getting traded, right? So it must be stressful. And he didn't have the greatest game starting out, but D'Lo can get hot. Everyone knows that. He had 9 points, 4 for 12 from the field, only 1 from 7 from the three. But what I will say and defend him, he's not the only one that shot poorly. Austin Reeves, everyone's big guy. Austin Reeves, everyone's big on him. He went 0 for 5 from three, so it's not all on D'Angelo. But one thing Reeves did is to get 9 rebounds. So if you're not going to be able to get buckets down, get in the fall, be able to corral some rebounds and get your teammates involved is always going to help out when you're having a shooting slump. So, I mean, it was a good game. LeBron James, 16 points, 7 for 16. I mean, we're not going to see these 30, 40-point games every night from LeBron or 30 a night. We're just done seeing that, right? We're going to have to really look in between the lines and say, is the little things he's doing, or we'll be able to appreciate him, right? He's going to do all the little things that doesn't show up on that stat sheet. His whole career for the past 20, 21 years, right? We've seen stuff that shows up on the stat sheet, stuff that doesn't. And now we're just going to have to really appreciate for what it is, man, and appreciate the longevity. He's still explosive. The announcer was saying he's coming down the lane like a freight train still. And it's crazy to see that he was coming down to the lane as like a freight train in 2004, and now he's doing the same thing in 2024. So, I mean, his bread and butter then is still his bread and butter now, which is just, it's crazy to see, bro. So shout out to LeBron. We're going to see what the Lakers do this season. I have some question marks on him. Honestly, I'm a big LeBron supporter, wearing my LeBron jersey. I'm not a Laker fan, but I got a Laker jersey in the back. Adam Morrison, my favorite player, was a former Laker, won 2 ships there with Kobe. So anytime the Lakers are good, it's like the Cowboys in the NFL. It's just good for the league when they're good, and we're going to see what they can do. I think Dalton Connect is looking like a really good piece for them. 16 minutes, but he did some stuff that really didn't show up on the stat sheet. He's not scared. He every time he got the ball, he was kind of very deliberate in his actions, and he really wasn't guessing of what he was doing, second guessing himself. He didn't seem like a rookie, basically. So yeah, I mean, he's looking solid. I think his stats will come along. He only had 5 points tonight, but his stats will come along. One guy I do want to say that I'm going to look through these rosters and see, is there an outlier? Is there a guy who doesn't fit right now? Or is there a guy who's kind of underrated on each team that we're going to go through here? But with the Lakers, the kind of odd man out, I think, with this team right now is Gabe Vincent. I don't think he's just conducive to winning a championship ball. I think Jackson Hayes is actually showing some stuff that's very promising. I think what Jackson Hayes did tonight, he should have been doing all last year, right? Jackson Hayes, 10 points in 15 minutes, 4 for 5 from the floor, 4 rebounds. So, I mean, it's just a good game, man. He's like a Tyson Chandler type, He's a rim runner, a shot blocker, can catch some oops. So I really am excited, and I'm curious to see what Jackson Hayes does this year. I think if he can contribute at a higher level than expected, then watch out for the Lakers. But I do think they have some pieces like Gabe Vincent who maybe are not going to fit in, Christian Wood. So we'll see. If you really look at the bottom of the roster, a lot of some unfamiliar names, these last 3. If you look for Olivier right there, number 41, he's actually a really good player. He's very tough. He's got a very bright future ahead of him. I watched him during the preseason and during the summer league, and he looked really good. The last player on the list I want to see here, last player on the roster is Trey Orr, number 94. why I'm bringing him up is I think what they may be trying to do here is a Thanasis Giannis situation here. I don't know. His basically, I'm saying that because Trey Yor's little brother is a top prospect coming up, probably going to be a top 5 draft pick next year. So his little brother's really good guard out of France. Was considering coming to the college this year at NCAA, getting some NIL money, but decided to stay overseas in France, and he's balling. Just keep an eye on him. We will have some odds on our prospects over the water. I do keep up a lot with Euro prospects that are coming up, 16, 17, 18, around that age. I watch a lot of under 18 tournaments. So a lot of these guys I've kind of been seeing come up, and really cool to see, like Wimby, a couple other guys. I was able to see Luka Doncic back then play for Real Madrid. So there's always some great prospects coming over, and his brother's one of them. So we'll move on from the Lakers roster and move on to one of the other teams that play tonight, the team they faced off against, the Timberwolves. So the Timberwolves here, obviously they got a new look roster. They think what they believe, what they replaced Karl Anthony Towns with Julius Randle, right? But they think they can really replace the production with Naz Reid and kind of plug and play. Those two will create like 1.5 of his production, right? They'll make up for Karl Anthony Towns' production and a little bit more. So that's what they're hoping. I think it's a good strategy, but I do think a couple of these other pieces are going to take some time. And out of all these players, I don't think they have too many odd men out here, right? Like, I think this is actually a pretty good fit. I think they did a good job at sticking to their strengths. I'm a little worried about their size, their height, but I mean, bro, if you're playing tough, it doesn't matter. I've seen a lot of 6'6" power forwards punk a lot of 6'10" guys, or 7-footers in the league, or 6'8" punk a 7-foot center. I've seen that a lot in the league. We all have. So I think that is an advantage that could happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if down the line in the season they add some size. So we can look at here. Obviously, they got Rudy Gobert. They're going to lean heavily on him with their size. Pretty much their only big dude, right? Naz Reid's not that tall. Julius Randle's not that tall, but they are strong, and they do have that post presence. So I am very curious to see Dante DiVincenzo, what he's going to do on the wing. I think that was a really good pickup. And I think Dante DiVincenzo is going to win out of this trade. I was talking to my friend and this week, and he was like, "Man, they shouldn't have get rid of Dante." I'm like, well, maybe they should have, because they got Bridges or something. And I was it kind of hit me. I was like, well, Dante just going to get a lot of shots up this year, and if he produces well, the climate of the league financially and the contracts, he's going to get $100 million if he plays right this year in the next 2 years. So it could really work out for Dante DiVincenzo a little bit more than Karl Anthony Towns. So I'm very curious to see about that. Now, they do have Nickeil Alexander-Walker right next to him, number 9. I am very excited to see what he's going to do. I don't think he's going to be in the run for like maybe a 6th man of the year, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is. But he could also start of them starting because they have a need, right? So we'll see. 2 rookies we want to look at with Timberwolves here that are very exciting: Rob Dillingham out of Kentucky and Terrence Shannon. Terrence Shannon's a very good player, prospect, and he came out of the draft. He fell because he had some off the court issues, but it turns out he was cleared of them charges, and he should have been drafted a whole lot higher. He would have been if he didn't have to go through that mess there. So obviously their leader, Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards, is he going to be able to lead this team back to where they were and a little bit farther? I think he has a good shot, man. The West is loaded. We'll get into the rest of the Western Conference later in the week. We'll do that tomorrow. But I'm very excited to see what they're going to do. A couple other guys that stand out to me is someone who I've kind of turned the corner around, right? Like, I wasn't really big on this guy coming out of college or whatever, but I do see some promise in his game. And since he's been in the league, he's actually improved a lot. And his name's Luka Garza. So Luka Garza is actually a very good player. You see him number 55. He was great player at Iowa a few years ago. He's kind of playing like Jokic, right? Plays a lot like Jokic, a bigger guy. But since he's been in the league, he's actually been able to lose weight, a lot of his weight, and kind of extend his game, extend his range, and looks like a total different player, honestly. It looks like a really good player. Shout out Dalton, the homie Dalton, co-host here with Home Squad Sports. He's a really good advocate, really big advocate for Luka Garza. So I'm excited for him to have a big year for him as well. So that's a look at the Timberwolves here. They were able to, put up a good fight against the Lakers, but they weren't able to get it done. 103-110. Those are the two kind of matchups looking in. Now what we're going to do is look into the rosters of the other games. So Celtics and Knicks. Let's go ahead and look and see who they got on the team, the defending champions. Very excited to see if they're able can repeat. They have a very strong roster. So let's go ahead and get into it. Jalen Brown, obviously. JD Davidson, if you're not familiar with him, he was up and down last year in the G League. Very actually pretty good guard and makes a lot of good decisions. He's a very good guard. Ron Harper Jr., he is the son, of a legend there. And Ron Harper, he's a very good player. Played with Jordan, played with Kobe and Shaq. So this is his son. He's a very good player. Brother of Dylan, who's going to be a great college player coming up this year. So Luke Cornett, he actually played a lot better than, than a lot of people thought last year and was able to help them. Drew Holiday, Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard played very good tonight. He's going to be asked for a bigger role this year, right? I think it's well deserving. It's a couple years in, and he deserves kind of more touches. So finishing out the roster here, Jason Tatum obviously balled out tonight, looking like he's going to compete for that MVP. Lonnie Walker, who wasn't on the bench tonight, he looks like he's going to be in the G League, but expect to see him up and down throughout the year. Jordan Walsh, who was another rookie last year, who's very good. He came from Arkansas, and he's actually just a real effort guy, right? Like he's a guy that you need to have make those effort plays. He's not selfish. Kind of like a Derek White, honestly, who's already on his team. He's kind of like a Derek White Jr. Xavier Tillman is a locker room guy, rebound guy, came over from the Grizzlies. Not going to do too much on the points there for you. But he's just a locker room guy, right? So he is important. Anton Watson, the rookie from my Gonzaga Bulldogs, able to get in there, make the final roster. I'm very excited for him to see what he's going to do. He'll be mostly in the G League this year, and so we'll see what he does here. Maybe he'll be able to sprinkle in some time. So this is not a crazy loaded roster, right? They just do what they need to do to get done, and their core is their core. I mean, they proved that tonight, right? I mean, Jason Tatum, 37 points, 8 for 11 from three. We got Jalen Brown, 23 points, 18 points from Holiday, 24 points from Derek White. And I mean, you can't ask for too much more of that, man. Al Horford only had 11, right? Al Horford's going to score a little bit more than that. He's kind of on his last couple years in the league, but he's still serviceable and very still productive and makes those smart plays, those vet plays. So Celtics look good tonight, but yeah, we're going to see if they're able to get it done and keep it up because they're able to get the 132-109 win tonight over the Knicks. So speaking of the Knicks, take a look at their roster here. They have a pretty good roster as well. I think, like I said earlier, they're going to make a couple changes. I think Campaign's one of them there, number 22. I think he is one of those changes that just doesn't really fit with this team. Not saying he's a bad player or anything, but he just doesn't fit with this team. OG Anunoby there. Precious Achua is a really good big. He's really good. Josh Hart, like I said, I don't know how he fits with this team either. Those are the only two players, Cameron Payne and Josh Hart, that I think that unless Hart can play just all league defense, there's going to maybe a change need to be made, at least with minutes, right? Maybe not ship him off to a different team, but maybe plug in some more Miles McBride in there for some offense that they're going to need. And maybe not just offense because they're still going to get it, but just unexpected offense. You're going to want to score in ways that they don't expect you to score in, especially in the playoffs when the game slows down. So there are obviously new additions there with Bridges and Towns. And I'm very excited. Mitchell Robinson's hurt right now, but people have been thinking maybe Mitchell Robinson will get traded. I don't think he'll get traded. He's a very good shot blocker. His deal is pretty cap friendly, so they're not paying him too much to stay there. And he's a guy that wants to be there. So if you see around the league, all this we're going to see throughout the season, there's going to be players that are not happy with where they're at, and all of a sudden they're going to request a trade, right? They don't have to worry about that with Mitchell Robinson. He's happy in New York. They give him minutes, and he knows how important he is. They're led by Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, obviously, the guy that makes the motor go there, and he's trying to lead the Knicks and change the identity there. 22 points tonight, 9 of 14 from the field. Jalen Brunson doing Jalen Brunson things, right? He's a good player, man, and by far the leader for this team. Rounding out, here's not too many household names here, but like a guy who I have maybe here for sixth man of the year, number 2, Miles McBride. Great game tonight, 22 points off the bench, 26 minutes, 8 of 10 from the field. So, he's a very good offensive just plug and spark plug there for them. So, Jacob Toppin, brother of Obi Toppin there. Tyler Kolek, their rookie from Marquette, who was very highly touted coming out of the draft. I was always not hating on him, but I'm like, bro, this dude is just really just highly – he shouldn't be getting drafted this high. And he fell in the draft because I think teams kind of realize we can just get this guy later. He's more of an effort guy, catch and shoot guy. I think his impact will be more down the line, maybe next year. So that kind of rounds out their team. Take a look at their front half of their team. This is their core, really, really. I mean, this is really their core, and are they going to get it done? I'm scared of the depth. So, what we have 9 players right here. So we have 14, right? But 3 of these players don't play. So, I mean, you really got 11 players that are rotational guys right now. I'd say 10 maybe even 9, right? And when foul trouble comes, injury comes, you're going to need a couple other guys, or at least the thought of a couple other guys, right? Jericho Sims, number 20 there in the middle. He's going to have to try and keep it going while Mitchell Robinson's out. He plays a lot like Mitchell Robinson. He's an alley-oop guy. He's a shot blocker, but he's still young, right? So he was in the dunk contest a couple years. If you've seen him there, it's kind of where people kind of noticed him. So he's a good player, but I don't think he's a core piece for a championship contender right now. So I think they're going to make some moves if Bridges just can't all of a sudden average 20 a game, right? If he averages 20 a game, that's great. But I don't know. I really don't know. So let's see. What we're going to do here is go into the rest of the East. Kind of go backwards to front here. Not too much to talk about. A couple of these teams, Brooklyn being one of them. Brooklyn's going to be in the running. Now they're going to be competing for the worst team in the league. I think they might be one of the worst teams in the league this year. Their roster's not that great, man. I mean, they got some vets on there. Dennis Schroeder, who's going to be a good guy, locker room guy. They got Cam Johnson, who's a vet now, good shooter, right? He's pretty good, but I mean, he's not a leader, right? And they need some help. Cam Thomas is going to be the load of their scoring. He's going to have to score a lot of points to even get close in some of these games. I don't really see it. Keon Johnson's going to be pretty good too. Nick Claxton's a solid guy. Nick Claxton's sort of like a Mitchell Robinson. They play a lot, a little bit more mobile than Mitchell Robinson, but they do play a lot alike. Ben Simmons, don't even get me started on this guy. I mean, I don't think he'll play like 20 games maybe. So we'll see. But we'll see if he does anything, man. I've Ben Simmons is frustrating everyone, I think, in the basketball world, but just pretty much any fan that wants to see good players play. And he hasn't played. He hasn't really evolved anything in his game since he's came in the league. So I expect either the Nets to tank, try to get maybe a Cooper Flag or, an Ace Bailey or somebody like that coming out of college this year. Or they're going to make a lot of moves. So nothing too much to talk about them. Some of these East teams will be able to rip through pretty quick. And another team here that's actually going to be pretty competitive is the 76ers. So new look 76ers, what are they going to do? Everybody's like, all eyes are on this team. If you're an East connoisseur, if you're a Celtics fan, you're definitely looking over your shoulder for 76ers. I mean, is Paul George going to be able to ball out this year and stay healthy, right? He's already not healthy. Him and Kawhi are already they're already not healthy. I don't think it's going to really work out for them, unfortunately. They're such great talents, right? And we've seen Paul George make so many really good plays throughout his years, and same thing with Kawhi, but they're just not able to stay on the court. And for whatever reason, health is it's just something you can't help. No matter how many jump shots you shoot in the gym, no matter how many weights you lift, and no matter how many training sessions you do, if you're going to get hurt, if your body's going to get hurt, it's more than likely just going to happen, right? So his body has just been falling apart on him. Hopefully he stays healthy this year. They got a pretty good team. I mean, Joel Embiid obviously is the guy who makes everything go there. You see here, number 28, they added Yabusele. If you remember him from the Olympics, who dunked on LeBron James, he got a contract out of it, so he's back in the NBA. he was out of the league, and he had some couple good games against LeBron and USA, and all of a sudden you find yourself in the league again. So it's crazy how that can work, and it's crazy. Shout out to him. He's back in the league, and hopefully he can make an impact because they do have some players here that are ready to ball out. Tyrese Maxey, man. I mean, he's a really good player. A lot of my friends are Kentucky fans, and they're advocates on him since he's been in Kentucky. And man, he's lived up to the bell there. Especially, it's hard playing with an MVP guy like Joel Embiid and a guy that's constantly competing for MVPs every year. If you can work with him and still do your thing and still play your game, like, bro, it just shows a lot from him. And Maxey's a baller. There's going to be really actually hard to keep him, I think. I don't think he's a winner, right? He wants to win. You can tell looking at Tyrese Maxey, he is a winner and he wants to win. And the 76ers aren't really a winning organization. So unless they win pretty soon, I don't see him staying. They added Jared McCain, obviously, there, guard from Duke, number 20, bottom right of your screen. A lot of promise with him at the guard position. Kyle Lowry and him. Have you seen the video of Kyle Lowry getting on him the other day about that kid? He's been like vlogging at practice and stuff, and he's one of those new age kids, man, who's just got to have a camera on at all times. And it's weird though because a lot of these kids who have the camera on all the time and got the cell phone on, the TikToks, a lot of them still actually work hard, and a lot of them actually are still ballers. It's just hard to even like fathom that those two things can exist. And most of the time they can't. But if Jared McCain can still ball and all the painting your nails and stuff, however, he's weird. No matter what you say about him, he's weird. If he can ball, he can ball. So I don't like him. I wouldn't want him on my team, but if he's balling, he's balling. So they got some other guys here I'm kind of intrigued by. Obviously, Kyle Lowry. They got Kelly Oubre, who, corner guy. KJ Martin, Kenyon Martin, Jr., his son there, who's a pretty good four. Hasn't really got a chance to show what he can do in the league since he's been in the league. So pretty excited to see what he can do. Veteran presence there with Eric Gordon. Number 23, Eric Gordon's wearing this year. And Adam Bona, who is the rookie from UCLA, number 30 there, bottom right of your screen. He's actually a pretty good prospect. He's a good post guy, and he's a dunker and plays with a lot of power and intensity. He's pretty good. So we'll move on to the Raptors here. I think the Raptors, they're not going to be bottom feeders in the East. They're going to actually be sneakier than a lot of people think. But, I don't think anyone has them as contenders. But they are going to be a formidable team, and you're going to have to show up every night against them. Grady Dick, number one there, one of their young guys they're going to be leaning on this year, looking to take that next step in his game. I do like a couple of these players and the fits. Obviously, RJ Barrett is a Canada native. He's from Canada. And he's returning home last year since he got traded. First full season with the Raptors. See what he can do there. Pretty excited to see what he's going to do this season. And Scotty Barnes, he's a character. He's a pretty funny dude. But Scotty Barnes is a dog, and he is a player. I think Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, those two are dynamic that you have to just use as your bread and butter, right? Like you're going to have to use these guys, and because that's what you got from a star standpoint. You got the veteran presence here. Number 17, Garrett Temple. Former Spur. He's kind of bounced around the league. Boucher, number 25, Chris Boucher. He's been in the system and big in the organization a long time. So Kelly Olynyk, number 41, Gonzaga Bulldog. Shout out him. Still in the league, still balling. He's been an asset everywhere he's been. But they just don't have a lot of good shot takers and shot makers. I think the best three guys they got as a point of getting the ball in the hoop is number one, Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, and Scotty Barnes. Those three, if they can't get those three going, they're going to have to do something. But if they can get those three going, they need to add a couple more pieces around them and try to make a run at the East, because you never know what you never know with the NBA. A team can make a run. We've seen Kawhi Leonard take. I know it's Kawhi Leonard, but we've seen him take the Raptors all the way to the ship and win it a few years back. Seems like it's so long ago now, but they did get a ship, believe it or not. So, yeah, the Raptors, we'll see if they're able to kind of stay in the middle of the pack or maybe surprise some people here in the East. One team that we want to look at that will be towards the bottom, they didn't make any too crazy moves, free agency or trades this year, is the Chicago Bulls. I am excited from a couple pieces. If you see number 14 down here, Matas Buzelis, he's a very good player. He came from the G League Ignite program. At once was the number one pick projected, but kind of dropped. And I think he dropped in the draft just because he came from that G League Ignite team, right? He didn't go to college like most of the players, but this guy's a freaking baller. We're going to have some film on him later in the year as well. He's one of my favorite prospects, favorite rookies. Very good player, can stretch the floor. He's long. Most importantly, he's not scared to take any shot or go up against anybody. And he's not cocky. He's confident. He's not cocky, right? It's a difference. And I think Buzelis is actually a very good prospect. He's going to be good for them. He's a Chicago kid. He's from Chicago, which is one thing I do want to add here. The Chicago Bulls have a few players that are from Chicago that are hometown kids, right? Taylor Horton Tucker, number 22. He is a local kid, and he is from Chicago. He was a big prospect when he was at the Lakers. Didn't really work out with the Lakers. Then he got shipped off to the Jazz. Didn't do too much, but not horrible. He was just looked at as this like a unicorn type, big, long, can shoot, defend, but I think he's just more of a 3-and-D guy. But a couple other guys here that are from Chicago area, like I mentioned, is number 11, Ayo Damonsu. He is a Chicago native as well. And then they have one more here that went to Simeon. Let's see here. Yeah, right here. Tyrell Terry. He is a Chicago native as well. So three guys from Chicago that are really good. I mean, DJ Stewart is number 00 is their new guy coming in. He's very good. Lonzo Ball hasn't been able to stay healthy. We're gonna see if Lonzo Ball can do it. I'm rooting for him. But I wouldn't be mad if maybe they said, all right, we're gonna cut ties with Lonzo, and then he ends up reuniting with his brother LaMelo. I really want to see him and LaMelo play together one more time. I think with Lonzo Ball having these injuries with throughout his career, that's actually a possibility, and I could see that happening. You never know with the Hornets. So yeah, this is the Bulls here. I don't think they're going to have too many great wins, honestly. Zach LaVine is obviously the guy, their star. I don't know if he's going to be there the whole season. Didn't really mention him off the bat because he was kind of looking to kind of get out of there throughout the summer. People were thinking maybe he goes to the Lakers. Everybody thinks somebody's going to the Lakers, but yeah, a lot of people were thinking he may be on the move. I think he just re-signed. He's like, okay, I'm going to re-sign, and let's find the best fit for me during the season. I think that's what's going to happen if I had to put my money on it. So yeah, I think they do have a few good prospects though in the future. Obviously, they got Josh Giddey from the Thunder. They got Kobe White there, looking to take another step in his progression. We're going to see with Giddey if he can help out Kobe White a lot and set him up for some good offensive plays. So I live in Louisville, Kentucky here, so I try to get to a few Pacers games. I'm trying to make it to a Bulls game this year as well. See what they're about. Never been to a Bulls game, but another East team here we want to go over is the Cavs, Cleveland Cavaliers. Um, I don't think this team's going to be that great. I think they're going to be maybe bottom 4 of the East, but they do have a couple guys I want to talk about here. Starting off with number 45, Donovan Mitchell, their star, Louisville prospect there. And he's a good guy. I mean, he's not a superstar, right? I think the jury's been out on Donovan Mitchell. Is this guy a superstar, or is he just a star, or is he just a really good player on a bad team? What is he, right? I don't know. I think he is a really good player. His shooting has improved these past couple years, which has surprised me. The one thing about Donovan Mitchell is really weird. If you notice, he can't jump off 1 foot. He can't jump off 1 foot. He jumps off 2 foot to lay it up. He jumps off 2 feet to dunk it. It's really weird. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And ever since I was like noticed it a couple years ago, I can't not notice it. He only jumps off 2 feet. Maybe it saves his knees. So maybe that might be a good look. That's just a weird thing I've noticed throughout his career. So another couple guys I want to look at here is Amani Bates, number 21, number 1 draft pick projected a few years back. Didn't really work out for him at Memphis. He transferred to Eastern Michigan. Didn't have the greatest of years there as well, but he had a couple nights where he went off. But last year he was in the G League all year. He put on a lot of weight. You can just see on his picture there, number 21. He's put on even on his face and his shoulders. He's put on a lot of weight. Dude was like a skin and bone when he back then. Even just a year and a half ago. So I'm really excited to see if that translates to better production on the floor. I think it will. I think they're actually going to lean on him from some scoring from the wing position. So another guy to look at, Darius Garland, number 10, top left of your screen. Their point guard, very good player, undersized, got a lot of heart, not scared to drive the lane on anybody. And then they got Jared Allen, kind of man in the middle, number 31, shot blocker. Good guy, serviceable guy. He's a good fit for them, right? We see a lot of kind of renditions or variations of him throughout the league. Each team's got their guy version of him. Another guy on this screen here, top half of the team, is Evan Mobley. Can Evan Mobley maybe take a next step in his game? And I think he is comparable to Chris Bosh a lot. He plays a lot like Chris Bosh. That's his ceiling, and he would be very happy if he turns into a Chris Bosh. He could do that though, kind of a Miami Heat Chris Bosh, kind of stretch the floor, still make those big rebounds and unselfish play. Right, doesn't need the ball in his hands to be impactful. So we'll go ahead and move on from the Cavs. Where will I think they'll finish, man? I think for bottom 5 of the East. I could see them making some moves here in the season and their roster looking a whole lot different than it looks right now. Sam Merrill, number 5, I see him go off in a preseason game last year. He's a good shooter, but if you got You can't have too many Sam Merrills on your team. Every team needs a Sam Merrill, but you can't have too many Sam Merrills. So a guy I like on the Cavs I'll add in here before we move on is JT Thor, number 15. Great big. He's put on some weight since he's been in the league as well. He was a big from Auburn a couple years ago. He was at the Hornets before landing with the Cavs, and be on the lookout for him. I think he could be a real asset because Tristan Thompson, him getting older in the age, and if he is, missing a couple games or maybe in some foul trouble, I could definitely see them leaning on JT Thor for a spark. So we'll move on from them. We'll go on to the Pistons, which is a very intriguing team, right? Like, horrible team, worst team in the league last year. I mean, they were going for the record as the worst team ever last year. It's debatable with the Bobcats, with that year being a short year on the lockout. They played less games. Who's worse? You're pretty much comparing apples and oranges. They both suck last year, but that could also change. They have some good pieces here, man, that on paper, you're like, if you took this team on 2K, you can score a lot of points with them on 2K. They added Ron Holland, number 00 here, you see on your screen, from the G League Ignite program. Untraditional route, did not go to college, went to the G League Unite program to play against pros, play against 25 and 30-year-olds as an 18-year-old. And I think that's actually going to translate to the league. I think it's going to help him out a lot, him and Buzelis there for the Bulls. Another guy from the G League Ignite we're going to highlight here in a minute is Tyler Smith. I think he's a part of the best draft classes with the Bucks, but those three guys, be on the lookout for them this year. But staying on topic here with the Pistons, led by Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham's had a pretty good, start to his career, but you haven't noticed it because they haven't won any games. I don't think it's going to change this year too much, but I think they can make a progress in the right direction. They got Jalen Duren, number 0 there, big dude. One of the strongest guys probably in the league up there with Isaiah Stewart. Just a guy in the middle and very athletic. It's weird to say, but I don't know. I don't even know why I'm saying. He's like the DK Metcalf of basketball. Like, he's just chiseled, like, just beast, physical specimen. You look at him, you're like, oh yeah, like, that's an all-star just by looking at him. And he has the potential to do that as well. So another guy on the team here, Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley. Not a horrible roster. If you look here, the back half of the roster, they got rid of a couple of guys in the past couple of years. Killian Hayes, who they drafted and missed on, so they're able to turn the page and move on from him. They got Thompson there, number 9. Him and his brother came in the league from the OTE program. He didn't have a great start to his career. I think he can maybe take that next step. If they have some help with shooting, some perimeter shooting, and where they don't have to lean on him for some perimeter shooting, they'll actually be okay. Tobias Harris, number 12, vet in the league. Man, one of the most quiet, like 16 a game guys you're going to see, right? Like, very quiet. I think he's overpaid, but go get your money, right? I'm not going to hate on you. Isaiah Stewart, like I said, he's sharing the title. I think was like one of the strongest dudes in the league with Jalen Duren. I think Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, and Steven Adams are among like the strongest dudes in the league. Yeah, man, I think the Pistons could be a lot better than last year, but I still don't think they're going to be that good. But we will see. I am curious to see what's going to go on with them. But we're going to finish up here with the rest of the Eastern Conference. Just a minute. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back to finish up. We'll be right back on Home Squad Hoops, first episode. All right, all right. Welcome back. I had to get some water, man. I've been parched. So, yeah, getting started here. Going to finish up with our last few teams of the East. Very excited for this next team here as we finish up. We got the Indiana Pacers here, man. Closest team to me. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I try to get to a few Pacers games of the year, and it's a great atmosphere. Not a bad seat in there. And they have a competitive team now, so very excited to see what this team's going to do. They made a run in the East last year. Are they going to follow it up? Was it a fluke? And I'll tell you right now, it was not a fluke. They've actually gotten better through this offseason. And it's hard to say that they're going to be in the finals, or it's hard to say that they're going to be even in the Eastern Conference Finals because the top of the East is actually so good. And yeah, I don't know, man, but that doesn't mean they're not good, right? So Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, they didn't have Benedict Mathurin in their playoff run last year, so watch out for him. Very athletic guy, went to Arizona. Could shoot it, can really good baseline guy, and he's a really good player. I like him a lot. Obi Toppin had his best year of his career, in my opinion, last year with Indiana since coming over, and he seems right at home in Indiana. Every time I've seen him play a couple times, and even on TV, they get so excited when he gets the ball. He's a fan favorite, so shout out to him. And Andrew Nimhard, one of my Gonzaga Bulldog alums there. Man, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep him long term to afford him, but we'll see. I am really excited to see what Nimhard does again. He, hit a game winner for them last year, a couple game winners, and one of the playoffs. And man, he's actually a really just good, smart, heady player. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Not afraid to shoot. And when you got a guy who's really good at passing and doesn't make a lot of mistakes, usually those guys are scared to shoot, right? He's not scared to shoot. I really like him. And that's one of my favorite things about him. One guy I want to round up here. The last person on this list is Jarris Walker. Maybe not know him. Don't expect you if you don't know him. But he was actually a rookie last year. And he didn't play a lot. In my opinion, he was kind of overweight and out of shape. But it looks like he's in a lot better shape this year, and he's gonna get a lot of clock this year. I think he does a little bit of everything, right? He's a bruiser, he can shoot, he's a dunker. He's just going to be a guy you're going to have to watch out for, and he's going to open up the floor for a lot of his shooters. And they got shooters this year, but what they also have added is big guys. Like, they're not scared to have big guys. I mean, look at this roster here. Miles Turner, obviously they have Miles Turner. That's their guy, right? He's improved pretty much every year since he's been in the league, but they were able to add Pascal Siakam. And when they added them, man, I was like, that is a pacer player, right? He is actually really good for them. He's just an effort guy. He's not worried about, the showing his face on the commercials or getting a signature shoe, which they don't need anybody like that in Indiana, because as soon as they get somebody like a superstar, they leave, right? So they don't have to worry about him leaving. He's already seen kind of the mountaintop and got a championship with the Raptors, got a big payday from the Raptors. So now I think he just kind of wants not his own team, but he just wants to be one of the biggest parts on a team. And he's going to do that this year. He's a really good addition to them. First full year with them. I think it's going to be really great. One guy I want to give a shout out to here who won me over in this past year, who I did not think was good. He really won me over and had a great season. I'll go ahead and eat crow, as they say, is Aaron Nesmith. He's very good. Number 23, very good wing, very good defender and shooter. I mean, when he came into the league, he was with the Boston Celtics. Hard to get on the floor with them and the core that they have. I get it. But I didn't expect him to make this impact, honestly, with the Pacers when he came over. He's a very good player. I think that if he continues on, he could actually be like a top 8 guy on pretty much almost any team. But we'll move on from him. Another guy I'm very excited on this team is James Wiseman, number 13, a guy who had a lot of hype coming into the league, right? And a guy that we had big hopes for. Hasn't really worked out too much. He was on the Warriors. He was hurt as well coming into the league. I think the Warriors just wasn't a great fit for him. They were making championships runs again, even without Clay on the floor. And James Wiseman, with you throw in the injuries, he just wasn't able to really throw in the contribution a lot of people thought he was going to throw in. But they also got their effort guy, their guard. I was surprised they were able to keep him, is TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell is one of those guys, man, who just makes the right play. He's not going to make the flashy play that looks amazing. He's not going to dunk on somebody or do a step back three, but he's going to set up to somebody. He's going to set up for someone else to do that. And he makes all the in-between plays. He's a very good player. But another guy I want to look at here, Isaiah Jackson from Kentucky, number 22. Like I said, the Pacers, they have bigs. They got a lot of them. If one goes down, it doesn't matter this year. They have another guy to put in. He's one of those guys where it doesn't matter how tall he is. He plays above his size, plays bigger than he is. Very good alley-oop and rebounder, fearless rebounder. So he's actually a very good effort player. So, but I want to look up to right above him, Johnny Pumphrey. He is actually from Kansas last year. And when they drafted him, I was like, all right, I don't really know about this guy. Kind of skeptical. Looks like kind of a gamble. But when I saw him in summer league and just saw some workout videos of him, he's a really good guard. You talk about TJ McConnell making the right plays. He's like TJ McConnell Jr., but maybe a tad bit more athletic, right? So I think when TJ McConnell comes off the floor, when Ben Mathurin comes off the floor, when a Tyrese Halliburton comes off the floor, I mean, that's their leader, right? You know, he was on the USA team, just got a gold medal. But when he comes off the floor, are you able to keep that production up? But with guys like him, I think you're going to be able to with Pumphrey and with TJ and with Aaron Neesmith. And then you got Jarris Walker you're adding in here. This is going to be a good team. Benedict Mathurin, depending if they start him, I don't know how they're going to do their lineup. Obviously, they haven't played yet, but he could be in the running for sixth man of the year if they choose to go that way with him. So we'll move on from the Pacers, go on to our last few teams here of the East before we wrap it up on our first night of Home Squad Hoops. We're going to go into the Bucks. The Bucks, man, a lot of expectations last year. I think the expectations are only going to grow this year. So they got obviously Giannis, Dame Lillard, but they actually added a few pieces that is kind of untraditional from the Bucks and from what they've gone through. I like Chris Livingston from Kentucky. He's a project. Um, they say he's grown like an inch and a half since he's been in the league. So maybe he'll be able to contribute, but I'm really not talking about him. I'm talking about some of the other guys they got here. Tyler Smith, number 21. I mentioned him earlier. He is a product of the G League Ignite. He's a rookie. I think he is among one of the best rookies there. I think the Bucks have the best rookie class, and they only got two guys, and they're just that good, right? He's one of them, Tyler Smith. The second one is number 77, last guy here on the roster, AJ Johnson. You're not familiar with him right now. You will be familiar with him by the end of the season, probably sooner, because this guy is a baller, and he comes from overseas. I kind of had my eyes on him overseas last year and coming into the draft. I'm like, if this guy goes to the right system, he could be good. And I think he did go the right system. He's actually a very good piece, a tall guy, tall wing that can handle the ball. He's long, and he can just do a little bit of everything, right? And all these players that can do a little bit of everything, they need a point guard or they need a star to get them going. This guy doesn't need that. He just needs the ball for a little bit, 5-10 seconds, and just he can do whatever he needs to do. And he can get it. He can be passive and still be impactful. So we're going to see if Giannis is going to be able to lead this team to another championship run if they can stay healthy. Pat Connaughton didn't have the best year of last year, kind of a down slump with his numbers, but I think his numbers are going to raise back this year. He's a good shooter, one of the few white guys I think that are actually good in the NBA. So yeah, he's actually good. Brook Lopez, obviously a baller, man. He's a man. He's been doing this for a long time now. He's evolved his game since coming into the league, got that perimeter shot going since from when he came in, and he was a big reason they won the championship a few years ago. So yeah, Bobby Portis, obviously another big guy, that locker room guy, a guy that's going to hold everybody accountable on the court and off the court. And I'm really excited to see if Chris Middleton can stay healthy this year. You never wish bad health on a player, right? I mean, if hopefully he stays healthy and hopefully he's able to make it through the whole season. And you never want to say, oh, well, that team lost because they were hurt. I would rather just see, hey, they lost because they weren't good enough. I like to see teams at full health, full strength, but that's sports, right? So we got to roll with it. Next team we'll go into here, the Bucks. Following from the Bucks, while I finish up on them, I don't think they're going to win the championship. I think they can maybe make somebody's else road harder, but I don't think Dame is just going to. I think Dame's just over his prime, unfortunately. They're going to have a lot of production from their younger guys for them to make a real big run. But I do think they are a couple pieces away. Gary Trent, number 33 in the middle, I think that's a good addition. He's a guy that just wants to get the job done, right? He was playing in Toronto. Yeah, he had a pretty good stint there, but I just think they're a couple pieces away. But I will say they are better than last year. So moving on here for the Hawks, first three here, Trae Young. I think this is the last year of Trae Young in Atlanta, man. I think he's out of Atlanta. I think he needs to get out. He needs to not waste his career there. I mean, look at him. Look at that beard. He looks stressed, right? I mean, he looks stressed out. He's looks like Atlanta's aged him. I don't know if it was the Henny or just losing. Maybe both. Maybe he went hard on the Henny because they're losing. So the Hawks haven't been that good, man, in the past few years. It hasn't worked out with a couple of their draft picks, to be honest. I think a couple of their draft picks have just been shooting themselves in the foot this year with their big draft pick. Obviously, they think if you look at number 10 there in the middle, bottom, That is Ricochet. He is the rookie coming out. A lot of people are saying he's going to be good, but I think he's a project, right? I think he's like it's going to take him some time. Giannis wasn't good coming in. A lot of these players weren't great coming in, especially from overseas. Some of these players, they're not all Luka Doncic. They all can't just plug and play. A few of them can, but a few of them have to kind of ramp up and get used to the NBA game. And I think he's one of them that's going to have to take some time. And since that's going to take some time, I think Trae Young is going to be like, bro, get me out of here. Like, just give me somewhere I can win. You all can maybe get some young guys or some draft picks and maybe just start this thing over because the Hawks just they need like a revamp, right? They have a couple guys on here, Larry Nance, that they're not. He's not horrible. Obviously, he's a athletic dunker. He's getting up there in age. Actually, I mean, it's crazy. Time flies. But Clint Capella, rebounder there, offensive rebounder, defensive rebounder. One young guy I do want to shed some light on that I think is a good couple prospects they have is Johnson there and Daniels. So Dyson Daniels and Johnson there. They're actually two bright spots of their team. If these guys can't get going, Trae Young's going to get out of there in 10, 20 games. But these two guys are actually help that are pretty good. But they just play so alike. And they just don't have too many diversity on their team. But if Ricochet can get going, if Johnson can going, and if Dyson Daniels can ball out, and if Bogdan, so pretty much that whole middle row, and take out Garrison Matthews, who's pretty much a shooter, all of those guys need to ball out. If they do ball out, I could be totally wrong, and we could be looking at a different situation here. They could maybe be this year's Pacers. We never know if Trae Young could just lead them, right? And if those guys can show up. Cody Zeller, obviously a big that's going to, be there for you at the end. He's going to make the effort plays and rebound, but not a big time scorer. I think they need a little bit more post scoring. Clint Capella's not going to get it done. DeAndre Hunter's been kind of a bust for them, number 12. So I don't know. He's from Virginia. He won that national championship team with Kyle Guy and all them. Ever since then, he just hasn't really got it done, and we'll see what he does. But they've in number 17 on Kwangu. Jury's still out on him as a prospect. He was one of the youngest players in the league when he came in. He came in from USC, played his high school ball at Chino Hills with LaMelo Ball. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see with the Hawks. I don't think that they're going to be horrible. They're not going to be bad as the Pistons, not going to be bad as the Cavs, maybe. But I don't think they're going to compete for too much. That's why this Eastern Conference is going to be pretty easy to kind of roll through until we go into the Western Conference tomorrow. So another team I want to go into here is the Hornets, which I'm actually excited about on paper. I love LaMelo Ball. Always have watched him since he's a freshman in high school. We've literally watched this kid grow up, right? And he hasn't let us down too much. People don't talk about the good about him or the good about a lot of players. He hasn't had any off the court issues. Zero, right? No, he's not hurting anyone. He's not getting arrested. He's a model guy. He's a good locker room guy. Haven't heard of him being arrogant or a problem to work with or play with. He just hasn't had too much help around him, and the Hornets just aren't a good, great ran organization. Even when they were the Bobcats back in the day, I was a Bobcats fan, and we were never good, right? And it's just kind of a curse over them. I don't know, but I would like to see Alonzo, like I said, join this team and play with his brother, but they have some bright spots here. They got Miles Bridges, who's going to play for a full season. Last year he had the off the court issues that shortened his season dramatically. So we're going to see if he's going to be able to do something. I do expect the Hornets to make a few moves. Grant Williams is going to be on their team as well, number 2 post guy. We'll see what he can do. I just think they need more shooting, right? So we got the Magic, who's going to be another team that's good. But looking back at the Hornets, we got Trey Mann and Micic. So if you look at number 22 and number 23 right here, Micic and Trey Mann, that's who they're going to look to for their perimeter shooting. If these guys can't go get some perimeter buckets, then they're going to be in some trouble some nights. Trey Mann, he's kind of got his footing in the league as a Florida Gator. Former Florida Gator, came in with the Thunder, got traded last year. So I think he's found his home, is going to get him some good clock here. And then obviously the number 2 pick from last year's draft, Brandon Miller, number 24. I think he's going to take that next step as well. LaMelo needs him to play good. The Hornets need him to play good. Brandon Miller needs him to play good. Everybody needs Brandon Miller to play good for them to take that next step. They added the veteran presence there in the locker room later in the year. Taj Gibson, number 67, and Seth Curry, 2 vets. Obviously, the brother of Steph Curry there, Seth, and where he'll be able to get some perimeter scoring, shootings in their genes. So take a look back here at the roster. I think LaMelo is going to be pretty good for them. Um, I think a couple of these guys are going to have to prove it, right? So Bridges is going to be good. We know what he's going to do, but their draft pick that they have, I don't know if it was a good draft pick. Honestly, I think they could have went a total different way in the draft. They didn't. We're going to see if that bites them, and kind of down the road. But the jury's still out on them. One team I do like a lot more than them is the Orlando Magic. Very high on the Orlando Magic this year. I think they're going to be really good. The East is going to be a lot more. The top of the East is a lot more congested than normal, but just the bottom is horrible as ever, right? So yeah, that's my opinion on them. I think they're going to be very good. Paulo Banchero is going to be maybe an all-star this year. If he's not on the all-star team this year, I'd be very surprised. We're looking at a few other guys like Jalen Suggs, Gonzaga Bulldogs. Shout out, very good defensive presence. They had Markelle Fultz last year. People were curious to see with him, Cole Anthony, and Markelle Fultz, those three guards that play the same position. Who are they going to keep? Who are they going to go with? And they kept Jalen Suggs, and looks like they've kept Cole Anthony. So they've moved on from Markelle Fultz, former number 1 overall pick, which everyone knows. But yeah, this is the core they're going to go with. Anthony Black there, top left, number 0, looking into his second year. I really like this kid. He's actually a fearless player, effort guy, can do a little bit of everything, which is there's not a lot of guys that do that, right? And he's got size too. He needs to get a little better at shooting. But other than that, he's got a lot of promise to his game. KCP, number 3, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, pretty good player as well. Very good corner shooter. They're going to be leaning on him for a lot of perimeter buckets this year. But a couple other guys we want to shout out here. Cole Anthony, number 50, how I mentioned there, point guard at the bottom. Very good point guard. Think he's really good, man. He's the son of Greg Anthony, who is a former pro, and he's a character, man. Cole Anthony's just a funny dude. If you don't like Cole Anthony, check your pulse, because that dude's funny, and he makes good big buckets, man. He works hard, and he's a likable guy. So they got Wagner there, number 22, their big prospect there at guard. I think he's going to be there for a while. He's going to make a lot of money in this league. He's got his brother on his team as well, Mo Wagner. So anytime you got some brothers there, they always got some chemistry that's unmatched, right? A few brothers in the league. You see the Boozer twins coming up in high school. They're probably going to play together in college because they got that chemistry. So brothers on the same team, I'm all for it. Like I said, I want Lonzo and LaMelo to play as well together. So Trevelyan Queen, number 12, he's a role guy. Corey Joseph, number 10, former 6th man of the year, another role guy at guard. Mac McClung did make the team. He made the final roster. He is on a 2-way deal, so he'll be up and down throughout the year. Won't be surprised if they sign him throughout the whole year once he kind of reaches his max days in the G League. Another guy I want to shout out here is number 23, De Silva. He is a rookie from Colorado, one of their bright spots of their teams last year. Him and Cody Williams was the best players for Colorado last year. So Wendell Carter Jr., I mean, this team is deep, bro. This team is deep. They are a good team. They have a lot of guys. Even Goga Batati, number 35 down there. He's a post presence. He's not going to score a lot of points, but he's not supposed to. So you got Gary Harris, number 14. He's had some slumps since moving from Denver. He's had injury issues, pretty well documented there. But if they can get some contribution out of him, man, they're going to be really good because they have some guys like Anthony Black. They got Jonathan Isaac, who I think is going to stay healthy. Fingers crossed for Jonathan Isaac. Hope he stays healthy all year because I just want to see what he can do. And I want to see this team at full health because they can be so good at full health and really shake up the East. So that was the second to last team here we want to go to. This will be the quickest team, I will go ahead and say. It's the Wizards. I don't think the Wizards are going to be that good. They had the number 1 overall pick here with Alexander Sarr. If you see him, number 12 in the middle. Big guy, but he's not aggressive. He didn't have a great summer league. He's a project, in my opinion. He's going to have to put on some weight, not as much weight as Wembanyama had to put on, which he's already done. But I think he's going to have to put on some weight and just be a little bit more fearless. I think he plays a little bit timid, a little shy. Obviously, we have the small sample size with the summer league, so he can't go off too much. But from what I did see, he doesn't look like that aggressive. And when you're that big, you need to be at least a little aggressive, right? Even Anthony Davis has became more aggressive these few years. Valanciunas, number 17, talk about aggressive. That guy is as aggressive as they can get. I'm sure he can toughen up Alexander Sarr a little bit. If he can't, no one can. So he's like a Steven Adams guy, a bruiser in the middle, a good passer, good pick setter. He's a good player, man. One guy I want to look here at number 17, which is right next to him. His name is Bub Carrington. And this guy is a very exciting rookie. A guard who you look at him, his stature's not big. He looks like he's not menacing. You're like, this guy's, how's he a basketball player? He's in the NBA. But you look at him, he starts playing. You're like, yeah, we know why he's in the NBA. He's a good player, a good facilitator, and he's going to get a lot better. He's one of those guys he's going to get so much better during his rookie season that his second year is going to be so good because he's going to improve within the season. He's just a smart player. Number 24, Corey Kispert, Gonzaga Bulldogs. Shout out, just got a payday extension. He's a good shooter, man. This is a shooting league, and you need to put points on the scoreboard and put the ball in the hoop. And when you do that, you're going to get paid. So if you can help a team with perimeter shooting, you're going to get some good money in this league. Corey Kispert is proof of that. He's not out here scoring 20 a game or 18 a game. He's just a good shooter, and he doesn't need the ball in his hand to make plays. He doesn't need it in his hand for long. So Kyle Kuzma is obviously their star. If you want to say star, I like Kyle Kuzma. If you really notice, I said when the Lakers got rid of Kyle Kuzma, they needed Kyle Kuzma, and they should not got rid of him. They have not been back to the championship since. They've missed his presence since he has left LA. I like Kyle Kuzma. Do I think he's a number one on a team? No. I don't think he's a number one on this team, on any team. That's why I do think they're not going to be a contender. But he's a good player, right? I think he's a 2 or 3 on most teams. I really like Kyle Kuzma. Hey, if they're going to pay you, take the money. If they're going to make you the number one, are you not going to be take the number one, spot on the team? Like, it doesn't matter if you're not good enough. They're, letting him drive the bus. So another couple of guys we want to look on this team, which I think this team has made actually more of improvement than the Pistons. So we got Marvin Bagley at number 35. I think he's going to be really good this year. He's really similar to James Wiseman on really highly touted big guys coming out into the draft. It just hasn't worked out for him for whatever reason, health and system fit. But I think he's actually going to have a really good season this year. Look at Sadiq Bey right next to him as well. He might have a career year. We don't know. Obviously, it's a crapshoot, but they do have some other guys with perimeter shooting. He's a big body, but Jordan Poole, number 13, their big shooter, right? He won the championship in Golden State with Steph Curry, the last one they won, and was a big piece of that. But he had issues with, Draymond Green, obviously. Everyone knows about that. They got into their altercation at practice, and they shipped him out. They shipped Jordan Poole out, right? And his production did fall off, but I think that was more of a locker room thing, right? They just pretty much chose Draymond over him. And he didn't have a great year in Washington, but not many people do have great years in Washington. But they have some guys that could actually steal some games. I mean, look at Malcolm Brogdon. He's a guy. He's a dog. He's a good player. Out of all these players, man, I'm looking at a few dogs. I'm looking at some guys that are that translate to winning basketball and helping your team win, right? Kyle Kuzma. I see Marvin Bagley being a key piece. Corey Kispert, Bub Carrington, Valanciunas, Jordan Poole, Alexander Sarr being your big prospect, and Malcolm Brogdon. That's just on this screen right here. Those are solid guys. Then you really want to go to a guy that I want to talk about. Very excited about this guy. He has the highest ceiling on this team. When Dalton co-host here, obviously with Home Squad, I shouted out this player to Dalton. I sent it him beginning of the season, right, last year or 2 years ago. Number 0, Bilal Silabai, right, number 0. He was the point guard with Victor Wembanyama overseas, right? So I was able to see him, and I really paid attention to him. I said to Dalton, this guy is going to be really good. He might be a draft steal. Watch out for this guy. He's projected 41st, right? He was projected 41st when I seen him. I was like, man, I don't know why he's projected so low. I know he's overseas, but I just think that this guy's actually going to be a baller. So the draft rolls around, and the process kind of starts to unfold, and a lot of people are kind of starting to wake up on this Bilal guy, and then all of a sudden he went from 41st pick to he got drafted at 7th. So, I mean, shot up, right? I mean, Everybody woke up on this guy, and he didn't play really a lick last year. He didn't do really anything last year. He only played 63 games last year, averaged 8 points. But, with the Wizards, you're not competing. So a lot of those games are dead games. You're already out of playoff contention. So he's really going to be able to get a full run this year, and he is going to be their brightest spot, I promise you. Bilal Silabai, look out for him. He's a very good player. He's from France. Big body. He's 6'6", guard, plays bigger than that. So look out for him. Um, excuse me. He shot 34 from the field, which is typical rookie numbers, unfortunately. And he shot 43. So he actually shot 34 from deep and 43 from the field. So he's not one of those guys you look at their numbers, right? He is a baller. Watch out for this year. Not even a bold prediction, I promise. He's going to have a great year. So they have some guys on paper that I think are really good, and that pretty much wraps it up for our Eastern Conference. Look out here, our preview. Really want to touch on the games we did tonight. I mean, NBA season's here. It creeped up on us before we could know it. We got basketball going on, and it's wild. So we got 109 to 132 victories, Celtics over the Knicks, and then Lakers 110 103 over the Timberwolves. Very great start. If you're able to watch the game, the Lakers unfortunately gave up the lead. It was a little bit closer than it needed to be, but they were able to get the job done. Everybody was able to see history being made tonight, which is, I mean, you got to root for this man. I mean, it's Braun and Bronny. How do you not watch this and just be like, this isn't CGI. This isn't Chat GBT or AI. Like, this is a father and son on the same basketball team. We've seen the Griffies do it. Ken Griffey and his son, Ken Griffey Jr. But we haven't seen it like this, I don't think. And Ken Griffey Sr., all respects to him, but he's not regarded as a top all-time player, or he's not in the conversation. This guy is, and he's playing with his son. I don't think I will say this right now. I don't think Bronny's ready for the league. But guess what? If you look at all of the greats and their sons, they've all been trash. He's probably one of the best of them, right? He's probably one of the best of all the sons. And I think that's why a few of these guys, that's why Shadir Sanders, if you look at football, he gets so much hype. Because look at all these other sons, they all suck. And he's going to be probably one of the best son football player of a great. And I don't think Bronny will be, one of the greats, sons of an NBA great basketball end. But, I mean, a lot of people, these NBA greats, Michael Jordan, his sons were horrible at basketball. They averaged like 1 or 2 points in college. They played for Central Florida and Illinois. They were horrible. They were never good. So, I mean, you got to give him some credit. He's a little bit better than them, but he's kind of in between. He's not ready for the league. But take a look at this roster, man. They may have some slip-ups here with health or trades, and he may find himself getting some minutes there in the league. We don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I think he's going to be in the G League most of the year, if you want my prediction, and that's going to be best for him and for his development. I think he should have maybe stayed at USC and got a couple more million out of USC with NIL. But hey, I mean, it's either USC or come play with your dad on the Lakers. So what would you choose? What would you take and choose? It's pretty easy. So we're gonna see if they can kind of keep it rolling. I think some of the issues tonight with Lakers from last season kind of translated over on kind of giving up a big lead, but we will see. I think they do have some bright spots on their team, and Dalton Connect might be one of them, rookie out of Tennessee. So that is going to actually wrap it up for our episode 1. Last look at our scores. Tomorrow we will go over the NBA games for tomorrow and get you a full rundown. Only had 2 tonight. And then we will actually go over the Western Conference. So very excited here. Basketball season's here. We're in full swing, or we'll be here before you know it. And man, college is going to start on November 4th. And very excited about that. Hope everyone's had a great start to your week as we move forward to the week. We got football. We had some football games tonight as well. And catch us for our football stream later in the week. Check our schedule on Instagram. Wherever you're catching our stream at, on Kick, Rumble, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram. Shout out to everyone that's tuned in. I really appreciate it, especially on this late night. But basketball season's here. We will catch you up later in the week and catch you tomorrow. Y'all have a great night.